in the misty depths of 19th-century Germany, nestled among rolling hills and ancient forests, lay the village of Drowsmoor, a place where time seemed to move as slowly as the fog that perpetually cloaked its cobblestone streets. The villagers, accustomed to the eternal twilight, spoke in hushed tones of a peculiar midnight visitor that had haunted their home for generations. As darkness fell each night, a palpable tension would settle over windows were shuttered, doors were bolted, and the streets emptied save for the occasional stray cat. The fog thickened, as if preparing a stage for the nightly performance that was to come. At the stroke of midnight, the old clock tower would toll, but its bells, once proud and resonant, now rang with a dull, muffled sound. Tongue, pause, tongue, pause. The listless chimes seemed to struggle against the weight of the air itself, each note fading into the mist before the next could begin. It was then, in that moment of suspended silence, that the carriage would appear. Black as night, and drawn by two ebony horses, it emerged from the fog like a spectre. The horses' hooves made no sound as they touched the cobblestones, moving with an unnatural grace. The carriage itself was an ornate affair, its windows shrouded by heavy velvet curtains that concealed whatever, or whoever, might be within. But it was the sound of the wheels that truly captivated. As the carriage rolled through the streets at a pace slower than a man could walk, it emitted a soft, dragging hum. Cree, eak, cree, eak, cree, eak. The sound was not frightening, not truly. Instead, it was oddly monotonous, almost hypnotic in its regularity. Those who heard it found their eyelids growing heavy, their thoughts becoming sluggish and unfocused. The driver, perched high atop the carriage, was a figure of mystery, clad entirely in black, with a tall hat that seemed to meld with the shadows. His face remained hidden from view. His eyes, if he had any, were fixed eternally ahead, never wavering, never blinking. Night after night, the carriage would make its slow circuit of Drowsmoor. Sometimes it would pause before a particular house, as if waiting. Other times it would simply continue its endless journey, disappearing into the fog, only to reappear on the other side of the village. The people of Drowsmoor had long since learned to ignore the nightly visitation. They pulled their blankets tighter, buried their heads beneath pillows, and prayed for the sun to rise. But for those unfortunate souls who found themselves abroad at midnight, the carriage held a terrible allure. It was on just such a night that Alina, a weary traveller from distant lands, arrived in Drowsmoor, exhausted from her journey and desperate for rest. She took a room at the inn near the old clock tower. The innkeeper, a portly man with kind eyes, warned her to keep her windows closed and her door locked, no matter what she might hear in the night. Alina, too tired to question his strange advice, simply nodded and retired to her room. As she lay in bed, listening to the soft patter of rain against the windowpane, she found herself unable to sleep. The air in the room felt thick, almost oppressive, and she tossed and turned restlessly. When the clock tower began to toll midnight, Alina sat up, curious about the muffled sound. Tongue, pause, tongue, pause. She counted the strikes, each one seeming to take an eternity. As the final chime faded away, she rose from her bed and approached the window. Peering through the rain-streaked glass, Elena's eyes widened in wonder. There, emerging from the fog, was the black carriage. It moved with agonizing slowness, the wheels turning with that soft, mesmerizing creak. Creak and creak and creak. Without fully realizing what she was doing, Elena found herself descending the inn's creaky stairs. The common room was deserted, the fire in the hearth reduced to glowing embers. She unbolted the front door and stepped out into the night. The fog immediately enveloped her, cool tendrils wrapping around her body like a lover's embrace. Elena shivered, but whether from cold or anticipation, she couldn't say. The carriage had stopped in the middle of the street, mere feet from where she stood. Up close, Elena could see the intricate carvings that adorned the carriage's exterior. Twisted vines and grotesque faces seemed to writhe in the flickering light of the street lamps. The driver remained motionless, his tall hat casting a shadow that obscured his features entirely. For a long moment, nothing happened. Elena stood frozen, her heart pounding in her chest. Then, with a soft groan, the carriage door swung open of its own accord. Elena peered inside, but could see nothing beyond an impenetrable darkness. It was as if the interior of the carriage was a void, swallowing all light that dared to enter. Yet from that darkness came a whisper, so faint she almost believed she had imagined it. "Step inside, just to rest your eyes." The voice was neither male nor female, young nor old. It simply was, and it promised rest. Sweet, endless rest. Elena felt her eyelids growing heavy. The fog pressed in around her, and the creaking of the wheels seemed to fill her entire world. Creaky, creaky, creaky. She was so very tired. Surely it wouldn't hurt to sit down, just for a moment. With movements that felt slow and dreamlike, Elena climbed into the carriage. The velvet darkness enveloped her, soft and comforting. As the door closed behind her with a quiet click, she felt herself sinking into a sleep deeper than any she had ever known. The carriage began to move once more, its wheels turning with that same hypnotic rhythm. Krieg, Krieg, Krieg. It rolled through the empty streets of Drowsmoor, fading into the fog until it vanished from sight entirely. When morning came, bringing with it a wan sunlight that did little to dispel the mist, the innkeeper found Elena's room empty. Her belongings remained untouched, her bed still rumpled from her restless night. The only sign of her passing was a delicate shawl, lying forgotten on the cobblestones outside the inn. The villagers of Drowsmoor shook their heads sadly when they heard the news. Another lost soul, they murmured. Another victim of the midnight carriage. They went about their day as usual, trying to push the incident from their minds. But on sleepless nights, when the fog is thick and the moon is hidden, the people of Drowsmoor swear they can still hear it. The slow, sleepy creak of wheels passing through their village. Krieg, Krieg, Krieg. Always searching, always waiting for another weary traveler to succumb to its siren song. And so the carriage continues its endless journey, a silent guardian of the night. Its purpose, if it has one, remains a mystery. Perhaps it offers true rest to those burdened by life's troubles, or perhaps it simply collects lost souls, ferrying them to some unknown destination beyond the veil of fog. Whatever the truth may be, the midnight carriage of Drowsmoor endures. A legend whispered by firelight, a cautionary tale told to wide-eyed children. A reminder that in this sleepy village, the border between waking and dreaming is as thin and permeable as the ever-present mist. And always, always, there is that sound, karikin, 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 a lullaby for the weary, a siren song for the lost, the eternal rhythm of Drowsmoor's most infamous resident, rolling on through the night, unstoppable and inevitable as the passage of time itself.